Everybody's ready to play the hot new game. Who's at your door? Who's at your door?
I'm pretty sure it's Scientologists. It might be Mormons, but I'm pretty sure it's Scientologists. Shit, it might be Mormons.
Shit, it might be Mormons. That's a good podcast. Welcome to the Greatest Movies of All Time podcast, a podcast show where we talk about some movies and decide if they're the greats or not. We also do some bets, we play some games, we have some fun. And that's that. I'm one of your moderators, Jesse. Today I'm with Gabriel.
Hello.
And JB.
Hi.
We tend to be the authorities that have been appointed, maybe justly, maybe unjustly, by the powers that be to make this decision.
I'm the home office in Sandusky, Ohio.
Sandusky. That's where I get the checks from.
You say appointed, I say anointed.
You know, that's why you actually you do say that every time. But we're 5 episodes in. Today, we're going to be talking about Uncut Gems. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to get a hold of us, make a suggestion for a great, give us your thoughts. Can't say how we'll take it, but if it's there, you can reach us.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. JB reads them all. He screens them and sends them to us. But we can be reached at, I'm going to say greatestmoviespodcast@gmail.com. And also keep track of the Hall of Greats, if you will, or not greats, on letterboxd.com/greatestmovies.
The Hall of Greats. Great.
We got a couple movies in the Hall of Greats. Check it out. Or the greats, as we call them. But that's it. But before we jump into that, as we do, always, have you guys seen anything that's maybe not great? What do you think?
You know, this week, to put it into context for the listeners, Avatar: The Last Airbender came back on Netflix. Very pivotal show to my childhood. So I binged that.
Like when you say binged, how, like...
Oh, we're talking 60 episodes, about 21 minutes each.
Yeah.
In the span of 2 weeks. So not super binge, but there's at least, I think, a day or two or 6 hours was spent looking at Aang, Katara, and Sokka travel their version of Earth where elements get bent. And there's a flying bison. But it also reminded me of the very not great movie, the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, bringing it back to films, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't watch any films. I had a great experience watching cartoons, but constantly haunted by this live-action movie that totally ruined many people's impressions of M. Night Shyamalan, as well as Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, I think he's done enough to his career over the times that has hurt people's image.
I think he'd already sort of outed himself prior to The Last Airbender. So
it was like a nail in the coffin. He's coming back though. He's trying. Split was redemptive.
Split, Glass. I mean, he
just kind of went back to what he made a name for himself with.
Yeah, back to the well. Back to the old thing.
The lady in the well. The lady in the
lake side manor. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like a generational gap, but like Airbender is just not. It's funny when I said like, what does the binge mean? That's where like I fully have very little frame of reference for it. So, Gabriel, anything you say?
Yeah, so not one of the greats, but a fun little ride. It's the most recent Richard Stanley directed sci-fi film, Color Out of Space, based on an H.P. Lovecraft short story, starring the one and only Nicolas Cage. And this is peak Cage. It's a nutty, really kind of bonkers sci-fi tale involving a secluded farm family and a mysterious meteorite that lands on their property and proceeds to turn their lives upside down. I won't go into the gory and nutty details of what happens. If that's your thing, it's absolutely worth checking it out. It's not as, I wouldn't say it's as good as the other most recent Nick Cage bonkers movie, Mandy. But
Mandy, quite possibly one of the greats. I don't know.
I would be happy to have a discussion about Mandy one day.
Mandy. All right, but yeah. No, it's funny you bring up Mandy. I'll interject just for a moment. That's what brought me to this film, though I haven't seen it yet fully. I've started it because I came off Mandy, loving Mandy, and I rented this through Redbox, and I think we talked about this, behind the scenes at one point on the Patreon pre-podcast Patreon tier for the Patreons, the precast, but the pre-show. And yeah, I Redboxed it, and it was one of those things, start the movie too late, fell asleep, because it has, like Mandy has that cool, like weird color vibe thing going. This one's more purple instead of pink.
Yeah, I was about to say, it described it as an apocalypse wrapped in magenta.
Yeah, exactly. So it was putting me to sleep. Not to say that it was bad. It was don't start this at night. And as those Redbox like daily payments were racking up, I had to like return this movie because I probably purchased it like price wise.
Yeah.
Before,
yeah.
So I never got through it, regretfully.
So I mean, you're not wrong. I think the very much like Mandy, the first kind of 15 to 20 minutes is pretty slow moving, right? But it gets going. After that, I think this is like Richard Stanley's first wide release since he was fired from directing The Island of Dr. Moreau.
That's right. I think you're right. Which I saw that one in the theater. I remember that as a young lad.
Yeah, he was booted off that one and not credited as having directed any of it. And then they brought in Frankenheimer. But yeah, Color Out of Space. If you're into the sci-fi genre, if you're into peak crazy Nick Cage, or H.P. Lovecraft, I'd say not one of the greats, but worth a watch.
Really worth it. No, I really want to see it. It's back on my list of. Hopefully, it's going to pop up on Shudder or something like that, so I can see it.
It may be on Shudder.
It could be. I haven't searched through since I've logged into that ecosystem. Yeah, real quick one that's just not a great. I watched it. It was kind of at the tail end of last week, but kind of given with everything going on in the world, I didn't get to a lot of films outside of Uncut Gems for this week. So I also saw a film called Bad Education. I believe it's an HBO film. I think it's kind of made for HBO.
It's Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's one of these sort of investigative type, small person uncovers the big crime. And so in this case, she's a high schooler writing for the school newspaper, and she uncovers through her sort of investigation for a school story, a lot of the money embezzlement and that's happening, and just various mismanagement of money and personal spending of the superintendent and those involved within the school district. It's really good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I went in not anticipating to really watch it and enjoy it, and it hooks you quick. It looks good. It's filmed well. The acting's great in it. It's just not It's just not a great film. I feel in the age of anything post Aaron Brockovich, I feel we've like seen this movie over and over. And
gotcha.
So what I mean. You know what's going to happen, and I don't need that. Yeah, they brought down another one type movie because you know where it's going from the beginning. I mean, it's based on true stories too, but I feel this David and Goliath type story we see a lot, and it's a little formulaic in that way, and that's what kind of separates it from a great as
Sure.
well. So it's good. It's definitely an engaging watch. It's definitely there, and it's, you know, it's worth your time if it's on. I just didn't think it was a great. That's all. Hugh Jackman's good.
I love anything Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, and I mean, I like his character in it. He's good. He's good. That's all I can say. It's good.
I'm a big Janny fanny. So
Yeah, no, and she's really
that's because
good.
that's what they call her fans. They call them Janny fannies.
Yeah, if you're a Janny fanny, you know, put this at the top of your queue. So that's kind of what we've been watching, but we're here to talk about something else. We got bigger fish to fry.
That's right.
We have in his, you know, we have an Adam Sandler film. Adam Sandler in his first great dramatic role since his last great dramatic role.
Which was,
well, that's kind of where I want to start with Uncut Gems.
Bedtime Stories.
It's as I was kind of just, you know, searching through the internet, and magnoliafan@gmail.com sent us to this at our website, at our email address, greatest movies of all time podcast.com at gmail.com. This article from outline.com, I just read the headline because that's mainly what I do. Adam Sandler has always been a good actor is the headline of this. He just keeps making terrible movies. And so
on purpose.
It's that thing. And I looked at it, which leads into our bet a little bit later. Just, you know, stay tuned, listeners. He's done a lot of movies, and most of them are, I don't want to say all of them are bad. You know, they're all kind of in a particular tone and a vein. But we know as far back as Punch Drunk Love, this guy can do good stuff if he wants.
So that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, I absolutely loved him in Punch Drunk Love.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a good movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, his performance is incredible. The direction is terrific.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's great on the side note. I mean, everybody is great, but yeah. No, it's but I'm saying since Punch Drunk, it's almost that. I mean, I mean, we're not here, I guess, to explore Adam's bad decisions, career decisions, but it's that same. It was sort of like Jim Carrey for a while. It was, Jim Carrey did a serious movie, and it's like, well, no, Jim Carrey can do serious films, and it's the same thing with Adam Sandler. It's, oh my gosh, Adam Sandler did a serious movie. And it's like, yeah, he did The Cobbler. He did, you know, there's a couple others, but we don't pay attention. But you know what I mean?
I did not see The Cobbler.
Did not, but that was also billed as his another serious turn. Or what was the other one I was trying to think of?
Funny People with Adam Sandler.
Well, Funny
that one's
People,
like pseudo-serious.
He plays pseudo-serious. Sandy
Click.
Wexler is popped up as a serious one. Reign Over Me, you know, he has.
These, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the other one I was forgetting.
Yeah.
So I've had this conversation with other people, and it centers around this idea that I think it's a lot easier for comedians who have spent time like honing their craft to take these turns to dramatic roles than it is for really dramatic actors to then take on comedic roles and make them work.
Yeah.
And I think it's not saying Sandler was ever like some great stand-up comedian. I think earlier on in his career, he was, at least outwardly, right, he appeared to not have these limitations that he's presented himself with over the last, let's say, like 15, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Where he actively produces movies that he knows will make money. He casts his friends in them. I think that's great that he's making sure that people he cares about are like taken care of and that they're finding work. But a lot of those movies they're terrible. Like, they're absolutely horrible. But when he's been given a chance to work in films produced and directed by other people, like these more innovative. Paul Thomas Anderson, right, with Punch Drunk Love, and now the Safdie brothers with Uncut Gems. He can transform himself into and the character of Barry Egan and Howard Ratner. Those two characters are completely, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Of dramatic, like characters and performances. But he's not the only one, right? That's able to do that. I think Jim Carrey has done it. You look at like Zach Galifianakis has been able to act very well dramatically. I think there's something to that where these people who, I think in order to do comedy well, you have to be able to tap into the human experience, and you have to be able to observe and then reflect. And I think that's what allows comedians to then step into these dramatic roles. I mean, Bob Odenkirk, right? Zaniest, most ridiculous sketch comedy show maybe of all time in Mr. Show with Bob and David, but has serious acting chops, right? So that's been my kind of like take for a while now. And so in this situation, I think it very much applies to what we see with Sandler and kind of when he steps outside of his, bespoke character that he's created and has played in basically every movie he's ever produced.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, and I get exactly what you're saying. It's just interesting how he hasn't been like many of those other comedians you've mentioned. He hasn't been able to shake that persona of, people still raise their eyebrows when Sandler does a serious role or dramatic piece. It really throws himself into a work. While the others, collectively, people don't seem to make a big issue about it as much. And speaking of that, here in Uncut Gems, the first part to kind of talk about this role, he just sort of disappears into this character. He doesn't even, he looks like Adam Sandler, of course, but this isn't Adam. Not for a second did I think this is Adam Sandler acting in a serious piece. I just he had me from the doctor table, the doctor's colonoscopy table from the opening scene. Like, who is this guy and what's this guy about? And how can this guy make bad decision after bad decision?
Absolutely, just mesmerizing, right? Just like unbelievable, right? The pacing of this film is frenetic, right? And you're following this guy through these different parts of his life, and you watch him just make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, but somehow you're still like, I kind of like this guy maybe. And I'm kind of hoping something works out for him.
Definitely root for him repeatedly. Like, oh God, why are you doing this? Oh God, what, don't do what you're about to do. You're hoping that he makes a turn. You're constantly rooting for him. But no, it's funny. I pulled up the little, remote and I checked to see where I was at. 90 minutes in is when I took my first breath of just, okay, I can relax for a second. This movie from the beginning until it's around the 90-minute mark. I think when he's coming home from the family, I can't remember what it was, bar mitzvah or something was going on. The big family gathering. And he came home. That's when it seemed to finally his life slowed down just for a moment in this film. And me as the viewer, it's sort of like because it's not even like a roller coaster because this film just went. We just had a moment of, all right, gather yourself. We're going back in.
No, it is like a fucking stock car race, and that was the one pit stop he made.
Yeah,
right.
No,
like it's just constant barrage of just tension and just it's like you get punched in the gut in the first 5 minutes, and then you're still just trying to catch your breath right?
Yeah.
As this movie just accelerates like
between once they
cannonball.
get to that jewelry store and everything's going on and everyone's there, it's just like go. And you feel as if you're living his life. You're just riding on the shoulder. And you're just trying to hold on so you don't get brushed off and left behind.
Yeah, no, the pacing, absolutely. The acting from like the Sandler performance is just outstanding. I've seen Joker. I've seen this film. He was robbed of a Best Actor Academy Award. He should have won the Oscar for Best Actor for this role.
Listen, I haven't seen Joker, but I support that claim. I support that claim. JB, we've been yapping about Uncut Gems.
What else are you supposed to be doing?
But where do you fall in this so far? For kind of first words out of your mouth about Uncut Gems. Somebody's like, "Hey, JB, Uncut Gems."
Oh, definitely fast paced. It makes me think of the first Safdie Brothers film I saw with Robert Pattinson. I believe it was Good Times.
That's right.
Similar underbelly of New York City, protagonist that makes you think twice about whether you want to support them or not. But like you're still rooting for them. They make some awful decisions, but it seems human. One thing about this movie that stood out to me was the lack of gratuitous violence. The violence you saw felt very realistic. Fist fights, tussles, verbal arguments. It felt more human. It felt like that could have actually happened to you. You could actually know this guy. This isn't just a movie. This is someone's story.
No, you're right. I commented that on somebody talking about this at home here. I think it captured well that song and dance between like Sandler and the bookies. Like they're not gonna put this guy in the hospital because they still want their money, but they're gonna rough him up enough. They're gonna mess with him enough, and to get the point across. But it's a little more grounded in that piece, and I did admire. It felt very realistic, but then at the same time, I like the elegance of that relationship back and forth. It was, you never fully truly worry too much for Sandler because okay, here's they're not gonna chop off his fingers one at a time to get their money, but you also know they're gonna fuck up his life a bit if he doesn't deliver. So there's still some teeth to it.
Oh yeah.
I would say, JB, you mentioned Good Time, right? And it has a very similar feel. Like the instances of violence in that film feel very, very much grounded in humanity and reality. Speaking of that frenetic pacing, right? Like that's, I think the direction that the Safdie brothers like bring to these two films is impeccable, right? It's to be able to control what feels like this white knuckle free for all, right? But do it in a way that's anchored in something that feels real, that taps into that internal tension the viewer has, and being able to make these like very problematic characters like they're characters you can empathize with. Like they're characters you root for despite the fact they're fuck ups.
Oh yeah.
I think that a lot of that should be credited to these brothers as directors. Like both Benny and Josh, just the writing is great, the direction is fantastic, and the performances they get out of their cast are outstanding.
I loved the celebrity guests that made appearances in this film. It was quite the collage. I thought that was very enjoyable as well. I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't know how much to say or not, but there's some good little appearances, some contemporary figures.
No, there definitely are, and there's some fun interactions with them. Thinking amongst the pop singers that might show up in the film. And or being knocked out by Adam Sandler, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, the entire sequence and series of events around Kevin Garnett's appearance, right? Like that's a pivotal point in the film. But that guest appearance in particular, I thought just it's like here's a basketball player. He's like in the middle of this thing, like Lakeith Stanfield turning in a great supporting performance, right?
Killer.
It's those guest appearances, those cameos are really solid. But yeah, they don't seem gratuitous and they don't seem misplaced.
No,
right?
it works. No, and even kind of talking about Kevin Garnett and the whole ongoing thread of the story with the stone and with the gym and him being mesmerized by it and entranced by it. Even the way the film opens, which catches you off guard. It opens and you go, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Mining for mining for these gems, starting off, and you go, oh yeah, it's Uncut Gems. But even then, it's just the sequence, the music, the way that the camera then just kind of flows into this gem and this stone, and all the colors. As the viewer, it just sort of pulls you in and entrances you into the story you're about to go into.
They pulled a Blood Diamond and outdid Blood Diamond.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, you open
it's
with
the sequel.
You open with Blood Diamond jokes, or as you're watching this, and that's what struck me right then there from the beginning, when it pulls you into that sequence and it has this more ambient tonal music going on.
Yeah,
and it takes that. Throughout the film, it would be very easy for a movie like this, set in the city, to with a basketball, an NBA star in here, and about chains and jewelry, and this to fill it with hip hop, to fill it with a kind of a very contemporary soundtrack. But instead, it goes the complete opposite direction, which I think leads back into that pacing, and makes it that frenetic feeling. I just felt the soundtrack to the score was another area that this film just excelled at, like a perfect choice.
Everything about this film was meant to heighten the tension you as a viewer should feel as you watch this guy just spiral out of control, right? Like you every decision it just seems like there's no thought put into it, and it's this rushed decision to try and save his ass.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's but even the way the camera moves around the jewelry store in the scenes in the jewelry store, right? The camera's never it doesn't stop. It's just constantly just kind of panning around the room.
It's panning, and they're not isolating people's dialogue tracks. It's you have to make out who's saying what, like pay attention, right? Because a lot of people are talking loudly, some people are yelling, some people are mumbling, and we're not gonna single out different channels so you can kind of discern who's saying what. You're like I said before, you're in the room and you're just trying to make sense of who's saying what. The camera's moving around with you and you're hearing people. You're trying to make out the conversation. It's a little disorienting at the beginning, which it's obviously the point. But you're definitely, especially after being lulled into that gym scene of all the colors and then straight into the colonoscopy, and then
beautiful,
boom, right into the jewelry store.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been such a more poignant juxtaposition of beauty with a butthole. Just it starts with this wonderful thing given through toil and troubles of workers in a foreign country, and also we're gonna also present this story. I don't know. I think the introduction of coming out of a butthole is an introduction of like, we're going to be, it's sort of like the Safdie's theme is like, we deal with stories about the underbelly of New York. We deal with like ugly things, but also everybody goes through it. The colonoscopies are a totally normal thing. The colon's healthy, everything like looks good about it, but it's still gross and uncomfortable. So I think it's like a really cool symbol of the feelings you're about to feel.
Yeah.
I had not put that much thought into the colonoscopy scene, but you really just tied it all together there, JB.
You know, I look for my symbols where I find them. I do have one question, and this goes back to the very beginning conversation, but you and Gabriel were riffing pretty well, Jesse, about serious actors. Do you think if you switched Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men with Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, do you think they could play each other's roles? Adam Sandler in No Country for Old Men, Javier Bardem as a gem dealer in New York.
I will take Bardem as a gem dealer. I can't see Sandler as a hitman.
Okay. And now, how about Javier Bardem in Grown Ups?
Listen, I can't answer that one because I've been, I don't want to sound like snobbish, but I haven't seen Grown Ups.
No, I've never seen Grown Ups.
You both sound very snobbish right now.
But I love Grown Ups too. No, I haven't seen that one either. I'm just trying to redeem myself. No, I'll say this kind of about Sandler's role in this film, right? And kind of, can anybody take his place? I think in Uncut Gems, one of the things that, it happens occasionally with films, Sandler's voice, this guy was in my head for at least a day. I heard his sort of like his rattle, like, shut up, da da da, what you doing, da da da, like just his tone,
the nasally
and just
twang.
It was just there, and just that way of just trying to get through the next. It wasn't even trying to get through the next day. He's trying to get through the next hour, each day, and I could just hear that in my head for a while, and it took a while to shake it. And I have a hard way of seeing someone else who could give that same lasting effect without it seeing like a caricature. It just felt natural with him somehow.
I think had I never seen the film, right, and they plugged somebody else in, could someone else have carried that role? I think the way the role was written, I think the way that the film was directed, I think somebody else could have been in that role. Do I think that someone would have been better? Having seen it, there isn't any one person I could think of that I would say should have replaced him. Right? To your point, it's New York, right? It's a jewelry store. It's Sandler. Like it is Sandler, and it's some mutation of Sandler into this desperate, overly confident, panicked, broken man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just wants one thing to work out, right? He knows he has fucked his life up. Like, he's cheated on his wife. He's like having to put a mistress up in a fucking like apartment, right? She works with him at the jewelry store. His wife is Adina Menzel, right? But he has this family, and he clearly cares about his family. But he also has this relationship with his mistress. He's in up to his fucking eyes with bookies. One of which, you find out like what this relationship is, and that's even shocking, right? But it's just he tries to carry himself in such a masculine and like confident way, and every step of the way you see just how broken he is, and you hear it in that little rattle in his nasally voice. And that, like, I don't think you can replace that.
It did have kind of on another kind of A24 Mississippi Grind. It had a similar vibe for me as well. More just kind of like tonally of kind of the character, the screw up who's always wants to keep one more time. This next one's going to be the one. And as Uncut Gems was kind of coming to its finish here, it reminded me of that a bit as well at the end, which Mississippi Grind is a movie I like a lot. I
think that's kind of an under celebrated, if celebrated at all, A24 gem. I mean, look,
it's a little uncut if you know. It's just
put
nice.
put Ben Mendelsohn in anything, and I will watch it. Right? You've got Ben Mendelsohn and Ryan Reynolds in Mississippi Grind, and I think the thing for me is that tonally, right? Mississippi Grind plays as this like dramatic comedy.
Yeah.
Whereas Uncut Gems is this kind of just assault on the senses. Like your whole body feels this film as you watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of laughing at the end of Mississippi Grind. Not so much.
You never feel the sense of dread,
no,
right? Like that something bad is going to happen. You know, yes, Middleton may or may not continue to fuck up, but you're never like, oh no, his next fuck up could be the end of his life.
Yeah.
Whereas with Uncut Gems, there's this kind of constant dread that if things just don't pan out, right? Like that's it for this guy.
I was very happy with the way Uncut Gems resolves its story, where on a storytelling piece, right? On as the decisions as a storyteller that you make when you're writing this.
Agreed.
And so I was happy as like storytellers, this is the place, the direction they took it. Where Mississippi Grind, at the end, I wasn't necessarily happy with the way. You know, I wasn't unhappy with either endings of these films, but as sort of someone telling a story and constructing a story and kind of saying, hey, I got to go with this story where it takes me. I was happier with the decisions of Uncut Gems than, say, a Mississippi Grind. And I felt that it made it a bolder film.
Completely, 100%. Could not agree more. One of the better endings to a film I've seen recently. The whole film stays with you because of that visceral feeling you get as you watch it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you can watch this movie and you can't palpably feel the tension that it ramps up, like something is broken in you. Right? Like I don't know how anyone could watch this and not feel the same sense of just desperation and panic. And I mean, my chest was tight from the start of the film until the end. And that's why I think that the ending was so powerful. Yeah. And it worked so well because it was that release. It was like, boom, that's it.
Yeah, the ending even gave me pause for a minute, which I like. It gave me pause of okay, do I like this ending or do I not like this ending? You know, it gave me that moment of, it wasn't just an instant, you know, that's how you end this movie. It was, is that how you end this movie? And I thought about it for a minute, had a little discussion on the couch about it. And then it was, hell yeah, that's how you end this movie. This is the only way you can end this movie.
Yeah, speaking on the uneasiness, even when Sandler is shouting at a sports game, like that's a pretty common behavior, but you see him shouting, and you're like, oh, there's not just fan attachment, there's like visceral pain happening right now when he's shouting at this TV screen, to like add to those moments of just, wow, anxiety. And the characters pace around a lot. They're constantly moving. Not only is the camera moving, the voices are moving, just a whole bunch of action, which again, I think is like characteristic of New York City. And it's really cool how they like pull that out through the movie.
it is kinetic energy from start to finish, right? There are no pauses, even right, like, Jesse brought up the one seemingly like slow moment where he's with his family and you feel like, okay, I can breathe. That literally only lasts for a moment.
Yeah, it's short. Yeah.
And then you're right back into, holy shit, what is this guy going to do next? Like, what else is he going to do to create, like, to dig himself deeper into this hole?
Right. Have either of you seen Locke, the Tom Hardy movie?
Yes.
Have not. Sorry.
Fantastic.
And that's a
That's
A24 as well, right?
A24.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
That's a movie that takes place entirely in a car.
Yeah, and you see, so like, similar theme of a man making decisions and slowly breaking down while making those decisions, but a far much slower controlled burn than this kinetic energy of New York. So just like really cool contrast between a similar story told in a totally different context. Like there's so many differences, but like
that one's all potential energy, right? It's just waiting. You're just the entirety of, and it seems slightly longer than it is. I don't even think it's like a full hour and a half.
No, it's a short movie.
But the pacing, it's such a slow burn, but it's not like, it's wholly engrossing. And when I read the description, I was like, how the hell are you going to make a movie where a guy's literally
it looks so boring
in a car for an hour and a half, and that's the movie? Okay, I will give it a shot. And was wholly surprised by that, right? But I completely agree with you. It's a very similar feeling from this tension perspective, while being on the complete opposite side as far as like the energy of the film.
Such good storytelling. There's a lot of different ways a man can break down, and a woman, a human.
All right, gentlemen, we've spit enough about this Uncut Gems movie. Clearly we like it, but I don't know, does it carry the mantle as a great film, as one of the greats, to ever be referred to it as? So now's our time in the podcast where we just need to make a decision. Majority of the vote gets a movie labeled as a great forever.
I've got my paper ready this time.
So I'm writing down my response here. We write it down.
Oh, you're not ready? You're not ready?
For the listeners, we write this down. Each of us write down great or not great, since there's 3 of us today. If it gets too great,
Gabriel just saluted everyone.
Forever great, he did. Well, the Patreon, they get the video.
General practice.
Yeah. All right.
Just to write things down.
Again, thank you to Magnolia Fan for being at the $600.
Were they the
$600 tier?
Did they manage to secure the email named Magnolia Fan? Like there was no like Magnolia Fan 107.
They must have.
Man, they got in early.
It was at poopshoot.com. It's actually again, it's a bad Jane Silent Bob Strike Backs joke. All right. Yeah, so we hold up our thing. We're ready. Let's see what we got.
All right.
I'm putting up
great
for me.
Oh,
great for
no.
Gabriel. JB's disappearing by his Zoom background.
Supposed to say great. It's
3 greats.
Oh, that is a unanimous vote.
It is a clean sweep.
Oh,
Welcome to being one of the greats, Uncut Gems.
Man, the man who did Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2 is now one of the greats.
Look, and Punch Drunk Love could be one of the greats as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you never know.
I mean, Sandler could be in multiple great films.
Think about that.
I'd put Click in there.
Pixels, maybe.
No, but like I said last week, right? This film and The Lighthouse are the 2 films that I've watched in the last 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, that just have stayed with me. And I even though they're uncomfortable to rewatch, right? Just I don't stop returning to thinking about how those films made me feel, what I thought of those films.
No, it's funny you say that. Uncomfortable to watch. Another kind of outside of the podcast conversation I had, I equated Uncut Gems as a film. I was like, I don't know if I really want to see this again anytime soon, as just being an uncomfortable, tense film. Much like Requiem for a Dream is the film where you're like, oh yeah, that's a movie that kind of serves its place and its purpose, and it's really great. I don't know if I ever want to see that again. And I've seen it a couple times over the years, but it's definitely one I need distance to before diving back in, because I just know what it's going to do to me. Uncut Gems was another one.
I knew exactly what you were going to reference. Like, I feel the exact same way about Requiem. I still think it's probably Aronofsky's greatest work.
I agree. Maybe one of the greats for a future episode. We're starting to throw out some movies here that we'll need visiting over time. Luckily, like Supreme Court judges, we've been appointed to this role for life, and we will eventually get to all films. Speaking
all
of
of them,
or die.
Before we jump to our bets, this is unbeknownst to my fellow moderators here.
I don't know instead.
We have a podcast within a podcast happening today. This is a rare occurrence. It should have happened last week. I will cue our theme song for this. All right, everybody. Welcome to Move Over Moonlight. Move Over Moonlight. In this quick show, before this show became a reality, we had debated a show about talking about the best A24 films and ranking them if one would be better than Moonlight. Would we tell Moonlight to move over? We've talked about a lot of A24 films today, but officially, as of this podcast, we've really evaluated Uncut Gems and The Lighthouse. So for listeners at home, we are looking at a screen of 3 movie titles. Moonlight is number 1. Guys, our mission here, we can be in quick agreement if we want. We just need to decide, where does Uncut Gems and The Lighthouse fall in this A24 list. Whereas right now, Moonlight is number 1. I know we haven't had an in-depth conversation about this film. Arguably, critically, Moonlight is hailed as the best A24 film. I will say, kind of jumping into this, I think it still deserves number 1. Unless somebody has a different thought. What do we rank these 3 films, 1, 2, and 3, real quick? Thoughts?
Wow.
So,
plot twist.
Go ahead,
right?
JB.
Plot twist.
Go ahead.
Gabriel, you had thoughts. I was just humming.
It has been a while, honestly, since I have seen Moonlight.
Same.
But I do remember the feeling I had as I watched that film. I remember the feeling I had when that film ended. I remember when La La Land won Best Picture that year. And
I'd forgotten that, but oh my gosh, yeah, you're right.
And I absolutely thought that was possibly one of the most egregious mistakes the Academy has ever made among their long history of mistakes in granting awards. I think Uncut Gems is stellar. I think it is a fantastic film. I do think it's one of the greats. I do not think it overtakes Moonlight as the best A24 film.
Okay.
I would argue it is a close second of these 3, and I would argue that The Lighthouse, while in third, is possibly much further down that list.
I mean, we can only work with what we got so far with Move Over Moonlight. So JB, Gabriel's thinking Moonlight number 1, Uncut Gems number 2, The Lighthouse number 3. What do you think?
I would with these three movies in front of me,
That's all we got. Move Over Moonlight.
I would agree. I'd say Moonlight, no need to move over. You stay right where you are. And Jesse, what are your thoughts?
Gentlemen, I'm in complete agreement with you. When I was sitting at dinner thinking about the possibility of integrating Move Over Moonlight into this podcast as a quick plot twist, my thought was Moonlight, Uncut Gems, The Lighthouse under our current things as well. So we're going to just plop those boys there for now. We'll update that on our letterboxd.com/greatest movies account as well. We'll make a list of Move Over Moonlight, and we'll put those three on there for people to keep track of. And in the future, when more A24 films come up, we will return to this podcast within a podcast.
I like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was
a nice little surprise there.
Listen, I surprised myself. We'll do the outro music, and then we'll move on to bets.
I figured if I hummed, then it would, totally eliminate the ability for copyright infringement.
I think because we're doing over mic like that, it's going to be so crappy audio that we're fine.
Perfect.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for that. We'll come back to it. We will discuss for our post-show wrap-up of how we want to incorporate films such as Locke and Mississippi Grind, other A24 films that we have referenced, and plop them on our Move Over Moonlight at a future installment. Might not be next episode, but our future big A24 film when it's up for a grade.
Mm-hmm.
We'll return.
Yeah, that's fair.
So our bet for today is there was a certain online publication that listed the 42 best Adam Sandler movies of all time. Given that A24 is a piece of this show, our goal today, the winner of today's bet, has to figure out what is number 24 on the list.
Oh.
So this is tough because I think we could figure out the top 10 Adam Sandler movies. I think we could maybe figure out the bottom 10. 24, that's just like your middle of the road block.
Oh, man.
So the way we're going to play this, our guest moderator, when they pop in, they know the answer to this. They have the online publication. They will be refereeing us. We will, instead of writing down our normal answer, we will go round robin, one at a time, taking turns, one going first, and then, we'll rotate through. And we'll just each pick a film, 1, 2, 3. We'll say it. Our moderator will tell us you are correct, you are incorrect, and we will go until we get number 24. I will remove them off our list as we guess.
This is intense. Talk about kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Man, you've Safdie Brothers me.
Yeah, this episode is, between Move Over Moonlight, between the A24 bet, we don't know where we're going with this thing. And here comes our moderator. I'll make introductions.
Here it comes.
Well, wait, it's connecting audio for the listeners at home. We're still. Welcome, Lee. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We have Lee, who happens to be my wife. Today, she's going to help us moderate our bet. We have set it up. Lee, all we need you to do once we start making our guesses, we will go one at a time. We will take turns going first. This is a gentleman's podcast, so we'll figure out whoever wants to go first. But please hold, and each round,
paper, rock, scissors.
Each round, I'm happy to, if someone feels good about going first. I mean,
are you marking down on the list what movie?
We will remove them. What we need you to do is at the end of each round, you can tell us what our number was. For example, you could say, you said this film? That's number 39 on the list.
Grown-ups 5.
But don't.
I gotta have that tab open.
Yeah, so you'll need to cross-reference. And
I got it.
And in our round of things, if somebody, third round, somebody goes first and they get it right on their thing, they win. It's like bingo. If they hit
Oh,
bingo,
man.
you can end it. But until then,
man.
just hold it for the round. So I'm happy to go since this is if somebody wants to go first, I'll throw that out there, or we can do
After you.
Yeah, you're you know.
All right, let's do this
Why
order.
not?
In my Zoom feed, I'm at the top. JB's second. Gabriel, you're third. Are we cool with that order? And then we'll just go in a rotation.
That works for me.
All right. So my first pick, round one, I'm going Hotel Transylvania 2.
Oh, the sequel.
So I'm going to go here. So that's my pick, Gabriel. I'm sorry.
That's Hotel Transylvania 1.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, gentlemen. Thank you.
You gotta
thank
go to
you,
2015.
There we go. Number 2.
Rookie.
I will. What should I do? Should I highlight? I'll just.
You just strike through.
Well, you figure that out.
I got my dumb things in the way here.
I'm gonna go for.
Is there strike through on here?
You don't mess with the Zohan.
I'm just gonna bold it here. I can't find. All right, Zohan, 2008's. That's the hairdresser movie, I believe.
Disco, good,
That's
good.
JB's pick. And Gabriel, where are you at for your first round pick?
I am gonna go with Bulletproof.
Oh,
Oh,
Bulletproof.
good choice.
Bulletproof. Wait, give me the year on that guy.
96.
96.
Mhm.
All right. Same year as Happy Gilmore. All right. Lee, can you please let us know where each of those 3 films landed?
All right, so Hotel Transylvania is number
Two.
The
Part
sequel.
2. Part 2.
2.
Part 2 is number 17.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
It's 10 away.
Whoa.
All right. Okay. Because this gives us a good little, this lets us know what we're messing with, right? All right. Where does Zohan
And
at? Oh.
Zohan is number 7.
What?
Yes. I'm like upset, but also impressed.
All right. All bets are off. Okay.
Oh my god.
I'm looking through Bulletproof. Hold on. It's not just like one list, it's like a whole thing.
Oh, there's multiple
Oh, the
pages for this? I apologize
Yeah.
for that.
1 minute. I should have written it differently.
It's okay. We can cut out this time in the
Sorry.
post.
I'm getting there. Okay. Bulletproof is number 25.
Holy shit.
Oh, listen. Luckily, we're playing exact on this one. All right.
Oh my god.
Oh, one off. Okay.
Oh fuck. I
Okay.
don't even know how I did that.
Okay. Well, you're one off.
Wow.
Okay. This changes things.
Wow.
Oh, whoa.
All right.
Zohan
So
is
round 2.
7.
JB, you begin this round.
All right. Mixed nuts for 200.
Right. That's 1994's Mixed Nuts. I cannot say I saw that one.
That one's good.
I was eating mixed nuts earlier.
Okay. So I think Gabriel's up next.
Gabriel.
Wow. Okay. We haven't seen what a high ranker is yet. Well, no, we've seen Bulletproof. Okay.
What are you talking about? We saw Zohan.
No, what I mean by high, the low ranker, I guess. Yeah.
Mr. Deeds.
Mr.
Ooh.
Deeds. That's 2002's Mr. Deeds.
That's a bold call.
All right.
I like it.
I'm going The Longest Yard.
Ooh.
All right.
Round 2.
All right. Give me 1 second.
We'll start with
Just need to look for
Mixed
one.
Nuts because we have to go in the order they were said.
These things are just gonna be all over the place.
Okay. Let me find The Longest Yard. Hold on.
While she's looking that up, this is from.
I'm gonna be pissed if Deeds is 23.
Okay. You ready?
We're ready.
Mhm.
Mixed Nuts.
Mixed Nuts 26.
Oh, I love it. I
that
love
hurts.
this. It's a good bet.
You
guys.
want me to go in order that y'all said them?
That's the way
Mr.
it
D.
works. Mr. Deeds is
Mr. D is 24.
Oh,
He got it. I'm a winner.
He got it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
The Longest Yard was 23.
Wow.
No
What?
way.
Look at this. See, Gabriel and I, we'd figured out this game. We figured out these films.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Y'all are good.
That's bananas.
This bet was bananas.
How do we do that in 2 rounds?
I don't know. I thought this was going to go on for a while.
Listen, well, see, the bigger question is people wonder as we started this podcast, how do we get selected to be the curators of the greatest movies of all time?
We were anointed.
It's JB's right. It's things like
Touched
this.
by the hand of a non-present God. I don't know. Something.
Wow, Gabriel, congratulations. So, as you know, there's no movie worth saving today, so you're good there. Uncut Gems is forever a great. You do have the option when the special Move Over Moonlight podcast appears to adjust the list if you wanted, but that I believe you're in agreement. But if you want, we
were in total agreement on that one.
If you wanted to make a radical change, you're free to as the winner of the bet. And then, most importantly, as we always do, we will shut our traps and we will give you the last word of anything related to tonight's podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything directly related to tonight's podcast, but you did mention something a little earlier that has kind of not to like go serious or anything, but everything that's currently happening in our world, it just feels like doing this podcast every week is respite. But I feel like I would be remiss to not mention that we're in this really fucked up place in history where it feels like we're dealing with the 1929 stock market crash and the civil unrest of the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s and early 70s. And it's all happening simultaneously. And it's not in a fucking vacuum. It's not, we have no leadership. Like there's an absence of leadership and direction in this country. And it's so disappointing and so frustrating and so infuriating. And so I just say, like, I don't know, support local Black businesses, support organizations that are working to help people in this time, whether it's public bail, like whether it is people working to change policy, whether it's people working to help provide frontline workers with PPE, whatever it is. Just do what you can and do what you feel you're capable of doing, because we truly are living in unprecedented times. And while this podcast is light and it's fun and it's great to take this time every week and have that, I can't help but think about other people who they're not living in that space. And, we're all in this together. We're all part of the human race. And if we don't stand up for each other, what do we have? So.
All right. Well, no, thank you. Very well put. Definitely. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, JB. And thank you, Lee.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Stay safe, everybody.